Most hunters believe a bigger Magnum always means a deadlier shot. Wildlife biologists in Alaska say otherwise, pointing to a single 8-inch vital zone as the true measure of lethality, not muzzle energy. This countdown digs into the manufacturing decisions, case designs, and Boone and Crockett records that rarely make it into a gun store conversation. The #1 cartridge on this list was built by shrinking a dangerous game case just enough to fit a standard rifle action. Let's get into it. Number 5. 7mm Remington Magnum. This cartridge dominates the record books for mountain game, and few hunters know why. Remington introduced the 7mm Remington Magnum in 1962, alongside the Model 700 rifle. Engineers built it by necking down a shortened .375 Holland and Holland case to hold a .284 caliber bullet. The goal was a flatter trajectory and better wind resistance than the .30-06 Springfield, without the recoil of a full .30 caliber Magnum. Here is what most people miss about this gun. Its slender bullet gives it a higher sectional density than most .30 caliber rounds, even though it fires a lighter projectile. That narrow, high-mass profile is why the round cuts through crosswinds on open tundra and holds Boone and Crockett's top ranking for Dall sheep and mountain goat entries. This system fires a 160 grain to 175 grain bullet at nearly 3,000 feet per second, generating around 3,300 foot-pounds of muzzle energy. Compare that to the .30-06, which produces similar velocity, but carries a heavier, wider bullet downrange. Free recoil sits around 20 foot-pounds, well below the .300 Winchester Magnum. Its weakness shows up in thick cover. The narrow .284 caliber diameter delivers a smaller wound channel on heavy-bodied animals, a real limitation in dense brown bear habitat. That trade-off matters little on an open alpine ridge, where the target is a sheep, not a bear. The 7mm Remington Magnum was engineered for long-range mountain terrain, not close-quarter dangerous game encounters. Next on this list, a cartridge built specifically to bridge that exact gap. Number 4. 375. Holland and Holland Magnum and 375 Ruger. These two cartridges represent the uncompromising end of Alaskan hunting, built for animals that can end a hunt in seconds. Holland and Holland introduced the original 375 H&H Magnum in 1912, using a long tapered case with a mild 15-degree shoulder for smooth feeding in rough field conditions. Nearly a century later, Ruger introduced the 375 Ruger in 2007, using a beltless case with a steeper 30-degree shoulder and a larger body diameter. Here is the engineering decision that changed everything. The Ruger case holds enough powder capacity to match or exceed the century-old H&H ballistics from a 20-inch barrel, fitted into a standard length action instead of a specialized Magnum length receiver. That shortened footprint gives hunters a handier, lighter rifle for navigating dense coastal alder thickets without sacrificing power. Both cartridges fire a 270 grain to 300 grain bullet at speeds between 2,500 and 2,800 feet per second, generating up to 4,800 foot-pounds of muzzle energy. Compare that to the .338 Winchester Magnum, which tops out closer to 4,300 foot-pounds. A 300 grain 375 bullet achieves full end-to-end penetration on a coastal brown bear, something smaller calibers cannot consistently guarantee. The trade-off is punishing recoil, ranging from 38 to 45 foot-pounds. That level of kick demands extensive practice, and it becomes a serious liability for hunters who have not conditioned themselves to handle it without flinching. The 375 class was built for one purpose: stopping the largest and most dangerous animals in North America at close range. Next on this list, a cartridge that splits the difference between that raw stopping power and a recoil level most hunters can actually manage. Number 3. 338 Winchester Magnum. Alaskan guides trust this cartridge more than almost any other when the terrain closes in and the range drops to nothing. Winchester introduced the 338 Winchester Magnum in 1958, engineering it specifically to close the performance gap between medium .30 caliber rounds and heavy .375 caliber dangerous game rounds. Engineers necked a shortened belted Magnum case to accept a .338 caliber bullet, allowing the round to cycle through a standard length action instead of a bulky Magnum receiver. Here is what most people miss about this gun. Its sectional density figure, at 250 grains, actually exceeds every cartridge in the .375 class, despite firing a smaller diameter bullet. That concentrated mass behind a narrower frontal area is precisely why the round drives through thick hide and dense bone from difficult angles, and why professional guides on Kodiak Island and the Alaska Peninsula favor it for close-range brown bear work. This system fires a 225 grain to 250 grain bullet at speeds between 2,800 and 2,950 feet per second, producing over 4,000 foot-pounds of muzzle energy. Compare that to the .30-06 Springfield, which generates roughly 1,000 foot-pounds less at the muzzle. A 225 grain load drops only 11 to 12 inches at 300 yards, keeping trajectory surprisingly flat for a cartridge this powerful. Its trade-off is recoil, ranging from 34 to 43 foot-pounds. That level sits well above what most hunters can shoot comfortably without dedicated practice, though guides who carry the round daily rarely find it excessive. The 338 Winchester Magnum was engineered as a bridge cartridge, built to handle heavy Alaskan game without the bulk of a true big-bore rifle. Next on this list, the most time-tested cartridge in American hunting history, adopted by the military decades before it became a benchmark for hunters. Number 2. 30-06 Springfield. No cartridge on this list carries more documented history, and no cartridge has taken more record book animals. The United States military adopted the 30-06 Springfield in 1906, and it has remained the most widely used big game hunting cartridge in Alaska ever since. Its lasting popularity comes from a balance of moderate recoil, dependable terminal performance, and ammunition availability even in remote bush communities. Here is what most people miss about this gun. Boone and Crockett record book statistics confirm the 30-06 accounts for more entries than any other cartridge in history, a record most hunters assume belongs to a Magnum. That reputation was built one controlled, well-placed shot at a time, not through raw velocity or downrange energy. This system fires a 150 grain to 220 grain bullet at roughly 2,700 feet per second, generating up to 3,100 foot-pounds of muzzle energy. Compare that to the 7mm Remington Magnum, which achieves flatter trajectories at long range, but produces less energy at the muzzle. Free recoil sits between 18 and 20 foot-pounds in a standard 8-pound rifle, low enough to preserve precise shot placement under field pressure. Its limitation shows up at extended mountain distances, where flatter shooting Magnums hold a trajectory advantage past 300 yards. That gap matters little inside typical Alaskan engagement ranges, where most game is taken well under 200 yards. The 30-06 Springfield was developed as a military service cartridge before becoming the benchmark for civilian big game hunting across North America. Next on this list, a cartridge built from the exact same parent case, engineered to close the energy gap this round leaves on the table. You have waited long enough. Here it is. Number 1. 300 Winchester Magnum. This is the cartridge professional outfitters and ballistic analysts consistently rank as the single most versatile option for Alaskan big game. Winchester introduced the .300 Winchester Magnum in 1963, building it from a shortened, neck-down .375 Holland and Holland parent case. That same parent case gave rise to the 7mm Remington Magnum, but engineers here kept a larger .30 caliber bore, maximizing internal powder capacity while still fitting inside a standard long-action receiver. The result was a cartridge that could serve two very different roles inside one rifle. Here is the engineering decision that changed everything. A hunter loading this cartridge with a 200-grain high ballistic coefficient bullet gets a flat, wind-resistant trajectory suited for alpine sheep and tundra caribou at long range. That same hunter can switch to a 200-grain bonded or monometal projectile and generate enough kinetic energy to stop a close-range coastal brown bear. No other cartridge on this list offers that dual capability from a single rifle platform. This system fires a 180-grain to 212-grain bullet at speeds up to 3,100 feet per second, producing up to 4,000 foot-pounds of muzzle energy. Compare that to the .30-06 Springfield, which trails by roughly 1,000 foot-pounds at the muzzle, and to the .338 Winchester Magnum, which generates similar energy but carries a heavier, slower bullet with a steeper trajectory arc. Boone and Crockett records confirm the .300 Winchester Magnum holds the top ranking across more North American big game categories than any other cartridge, including moose, caribou, grizzly bear, and mountain goat. Its trade-off is recoil, averaging between 25 and 31.5 foot-pounds. That level sits near the upper limit of comfort for unassisted shooters, and it demands consistent range practice to avoid flinching under field pressure. Weighed against every cartridge on this list, the .300 Winchester Magnum earns the top position through balance rather than extremes. It does not carry the raw stopping power of the .375 class, and it does not match the recoil comfort of the .30-06. What it offers instead is a single-case design capable of handling alpine sheep at 400 yards and a charging brown bear at 40 yards without switching rifles. That range of capability, built into one cartridge, is why it stands as the most complete choice for Alaskan big game hunting. Precise shot placement inside the vital zone will always outperform raw Magnum power in the field. Every cartridge on this list proves that engineering and bullet construction matter more than muzzle energy alone. Which of these 5 cartridges would you trust for your own Alaska hunt, and why? Drop your answer in the comments. This video covers ammunition selection for lawful hunting purposes only. Always confirm current Alaska Department of Fish and Game regulations before any hunt. If you want documentary-style breakdowns built on verified ballistics research and historical firearms development, subscribe for more deep dives like this one.